Hello and welcome to this iSHARE video. In this video we will demonstrate a full end-to-end flow, where the service provider requests delegation evidence. We will go through the whole Postman collection, which demos the functionality of the iSHARE network using dummy parties. And we'll also go through these accompanying slides, which demonstrate which API calls are being made between which roles. In this flow, the service provider will request the delegation evidence from the authorization registry. You can also find a different video on the developer portal, where the service consumer requests the delegation evidence. First, we'll recap what the iSHARE scheme consists of. In the iSHARE scheme, we have adhering parties and certified parties. Adhering parties are parties that are engaged in data sharing, or are in some way related to the content of the data. Certified parties, on the other hand, offer specific services which enable large-scale data sharing, whilst also fulfilling a trusted function within the iSHARE network. There's also the scheme owner. The scheme owner oversees admission to the iSHARE network and manages an overview of active members. In this use case, Warehouse 13 is a warehouse which has data with regards to container Z. ABC Trucking is a transporter which needs to get this data on behalf of Banana & Co, who has the right to access this data about container Z. So, in this use case, Banana & Co delegates the right to this data to the transporter ABC Trucking, and he stores this delegation at the AskMeAnything authorization registry. When ABC Trucking will request the data later on at Warehouse 13, Warehouse 13 will check the AskMeAnything authorization registry to see if there's a delegation from Banana & Co to ABC Trucking about container Z. If that's the case, the AskMeAnything AR will reply that the delegation is there, and Warehouse 13 will know that it can give the container data to ABC Trucking. So ABC Trucking wants to access container data at the terminal on behalf of Banana & Co. This goes in 3 steps. Banana & Co needs to register at AskMeAnything authorization registry that they delegate access rights to ABC Trucking. And when ABC Trucking requests the data at the service provider, Warehouse 13 checks with AskMeAnything for delegation evidence. If AskMeAnything returns valid delegation evidence, Warehouse 13 can exchange the data with ABC Trucking. In this presentation, most calls will be iSHARE calls, except when they are marked red. So let's recap what these roles are within the iSHARE network. ABC Trucking is the service consumer, as it will consume the service at Warehouse 13, because it will request container data about container Z. So Warehouse 13 is the service provider. It provides a service to ABC Trucking. Banana & Co is the entitled party. It is the party entitled to the data offered by the service provider, Warehouse 13, because the data concerns data about Banana & Co's shipment. It has stored this delegation at AskMeAnything, the authorization registry. Beforehand, 3 of the iSHARE parties need to have requested the trusted list. These are ABC Trucking, Warehouse 13, and AskMeAnything. This trusted list contains all certificate authorities that we trust in iSHARE. In the test environment, these are the iSHARE test certificate authorities. In the production environment, these will be the PKI override certificate authorities and the eIDAS certificate authorities, or trusted service providers. They will need this trusted list so that they can verify the certificates that the participants use, and therefore verify the identity of the participants. To get the trusted list, participants will have to request an access token at the scheme owner, and when you have received that access token, request a trusted list at the scheme owner. They will then receive a trusted list JSON web token. Now let's see how this would work in Postman. We go to the section beforehand, getting the trusted list. Let's say Warehouse 13 is requesting this access token from the scheme owner, though it will be similar for the parties ABC Trucking and AskMeAnything. In the body, we have the following 5 parameters. 3 of these are standard. 1 is a client ID, the identifier of the party doing the request, in this case 000000003, which identifies Warehouse 13 at the scheme owner. And 1 is the client assertion, generated in the pre-request script. In this pre-request script, we generate the client assertion online. using the generate JWS endpoint. However, in real use cases, the client assertion should always be generated locally, as you should never share your private keys online. If we send this to the scheme owner, we see that we receive an access token which expires in an hour. And we can use this access token to get the trusted list. The Postman collection will automatically copy that value to the header authorization. And if we send this to the trusted list endpoint, we receive a list with two certificate authorities, namely the iSHARE test certificate authority and the iSHARE test certificate authority TLS. With that, we receive a certificate fingerprint, which is the SHA-256 sum of the certificate. We receive the validity and the status of the iSHARE test CA. We see that we also had a different parameter in the header, which is its do not sign value. For demoing purposes, we check this as true, which makes sure that the list returned is not encoded as a JSON Web Token. For real purposes, the trusted list would actually look like this, which is a JSON Web Token that you should be able to decode. For more information on this, see jwt.io. Now let's get to the case. Beforehand, Banana & Co. will need to delegate the rights to the container data to ABC Trucking, and it does so by storing this at the AskMeAnything authorization registry. This is not an iSHARE call, and is not standardized within iSHARE. We see that Banana & Co. delegates the rights to access data regarding containers X, Y, and Z to ABC Trucking. And it will also update the service consumer that it has stored these rights to access data regarding containers X, Y, and Z at AskMeAnything. And this is also, of course, not an iSHARE call. Now the actual use case starts, where ABC Trucking will try to get the container data from warehouse 13. ABC Trucking starts by identifying himself at warehouse 13, saying that he's a machine from ABC Trucking, and he uses the post connect token endpoint for that. Before warehouse 13 can return an access token, it will have to check the certificate that ABC Trucking sent, and it will have to check if ABC Trucking is a valid iSHARE party. To do so, it will get a connect token from the scheme owner, and the scheme owner will respond with an access token, as it knows warehouse 13 is a valid iSHARE party. And it will use the get parties endpoint using the party ID of ABC Trucking to get the iSHARE status of ABC Trucking. The party identifier of ABC Trucking is 000000001. If the scheme owner responds with a party token, the service provider can check this party token and see if ABC Trucking is a valid iSHARE party. And if it is, it will respond with an access token to ABC Trucking. Now let's see how this works in Postman. We go to the subset ABC requests an access token from warehouse 13. Again, in the body, we have the three values that remain constant, but now the client ID is the client ID of ABC Trucking. And again, we have a client assertion generated in the pre-request script, which we should always generate locally. Behind the scenes now, warehouse 13 will be verifying ABC Trucking. Apparently, ABC Trucking is a valid party as we have returned the access token to them. Now let's see what happened behind the scenes at warehouse 13. Of course, it has checked the client assertion of ABC Trucking to see if the certificate is valid, and it will then request an access token from the scheme owner, and with that access token, it will request the /parties endpoint. The /parties endpoint has 5 values for which you can look, but we're looking at the moment at the AORI value. And in the AORI key, we use the identifier of the party that we are looking for, ABC Truckings. And we see that it indeed returns the party identifier of ABC Trucking, and we see that it returns the party information on ABC Trucking. The party identifier, the party name, and its status in the iSHARE network. And this is the value that we're looking for, because we wanted to check if ABC Trucking is an active iSHARE party. In the header, we again had the access token and a do not sign value for dummying purposes. Now ABC Trucking can use the access token to request a service at warehouse 13 with regards to container Z. It's actually asking if you can access the data regarding container Z, and it tells warehouse 13 that the delegation rights are stored at AskMeAnything. Warehouse 13 will have to check if the AskMeAnything registry is a valid iShare party. So it again gets an access token from the scheme owner and uses this to check the information, but now on the AskMeAnything authorization registry. The scheme owner will return that AskMeAnything is a valid iShare party and also that it's a valid authorization registry in the iShare network, which is a certified role. Knowing this, Warehouse 13 can request an access token at the authorization registry, so that it can later on ask for the delegation evidence. Again, the AskMeAnything authorization registry will need to verify Warehouse 13. So it checks the certificate and requests an access token to the scheme owner to request the party information of Warehouse 13. The scheme owner will return the party token on Warehouse 13 and AskMeAnything can check if Warehouse 13 is a valid iShare party. And if it is, it will return the access token to Warehouse 13. Now Warehouse 13 will request the delegation evidence from the AskMeAnything. It will ask, is ABC Trucking allowed to access data from container Z? To do this, it will need to provide the client assertion of ABC Trucking, which ABC Trucking has sent in an earlier request. It has to do so that the AskMeAnything authorization registry knows that Warehouse 13 is allowed to ask this on behalf of ABC Trucking. The authorization registry will check its own files, and if it finds a valid delegation for container Z, it will return yes, ABC Trucking may access this data regarding container Z. And then Warehouse 13 can check the evidence and certificate and return the container data to ABC Trucking. So let's see how this authentication part works in Postman. We go to the subset ABC Trucking can now request service. For ABC Trucking this is very easy, as it's just a GET request with the authorization access token that he has just received and the client assertion that we generated earlier. And if it does so, we see that Warehouse 13 will behind the scenes ask the AskMeAnything authorization registry for delegation evidence, but that will be very quickly and it has already returned the container data. The container data is the weight of the container, 17.25 kilos, and the estimated time of arrival, 11.64. Now what has happened behind the scenes? Behind the scenes, Warehouse 13 has again requested an access token from the scheme owner. Although in this case we can skip this part because we requested the access token earlier and it's valid for an hour. So then it can immediately check the party's endpoint using the party identifier of the AskMeAnything authorization registry. And it finds that AskMeAnything authorization registry with the party identifier is an active iShare party, but more, it's a certified authorization registry within iShare. It can then request an access token from the authorization registry, where again, these values are almost the same as previously, although the client assertion will differ a bit. And using the access token, it can request delegation evidence from ABC Trucking. To request delegation evidence, you need to know how the delegation request works. This is explained in a different video by us. But to go through it quickly, Warehouse 13 is requesting delegation evidence on the following ways. It actually asks, is there a policy issued by Banana & Co. to ABC Trucking with regards to container Z? Asking about the estimated time of arrival and asking about the weight of this container. And is it allowed to do so at me, Warehouse 13? And it asks if this is permitted. The AskMeAnything authorization registry will check if the delegation evidence is there. And if it is, it will return the delegation evidence to Warehouse 13, saying we have a delegation which is not valid before this time and not valid after this time from Banana & Co. to ABC Trucking with regards to container Z. And this is the value that we should be looking for. It is actually permitted for ABC Trucking to request this data at Warehouse 13. Again, I refer to a different video for the full explanation of an authorization registry and delegation evidence. Having checked this delegation evidence, Warehouse 13 has returned the container data, as we have just seen. And this is the end of this iShare video, where we demonstrated the full end-to-end flow where a service provider requests the delegation evidence at an authorization registry. If you have any questions regarding this demonstration, please feel free to ask him on the forum, forum.ishareworks.org. We hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you.